This old guy DIY video has to do with replacing the trim unit on a 1994 Force outboard on the back of a pontoon. So this hot chick I know has this boat. She asked me to help her get it ready to go in the water. So when I pulled this thing out of the garage for her, so I went to tilt the motor and nothing happened. So since the tilt worked fine last year, I suspected it was a mechanical failure as opposed to something electrical. So I'll show you how I troubleshot it. I removed the cowl and I followed the two wires that came up from the trim motor. So the wires are right here and then they come up to these two ends. And then I just disconnected the ends from the female side down. The female terminals that the plug goes into are right here. And to troubleshoot it, I just took a multimeter, set it to volts on the 20 volt scale, stuck the positive in one side, the negative in the other. Then I had a friend just activate the trim button. When I hit up, it went to 12.6 volts. When I hit down, it went to 12.6 volts. So the battery was given 12.6 volts and voltage was coming here. So that told me there was no issue with the relays over here or anything else. And I had a mechanical problem. So I came down here and the first thing I did was remove these 4 screws on the top of the unit. And when I pulled the motor out, I noticed that it had a bunch of rust and stuff down here on the end. And then with this out of the pump itself, so it's just the motor, I plugged those wires back in up top, had him hit the trim button up and down, and nothing happened. So I determined this thing had failed. So once I determined that had failed, then I came down here and I took these 4 bolts out. I had never removed a trim motor housing before. So I took these 4 bolts out, and you'll see this whole housing comes off and it just has a pump beneath it. After removing the 4 bolts on the base, this unit just picks up. You can see what the housing looks like on the inside. And this is the actual pump itself. There's a little shaft that goes into the pump, and that shaft is what turns clockwise or counterclockwise to drive the fluid to run the ram that raises and lowers the motor. So based on this, I went to my go-to marine replacement place, Crowley Marine. I typed in all the information for the motor and it came back with the housing down here and the motor itself. They wanted $404 for. I said, oh crap, that's not going to happen. So then I took the part number, went to Amazon, and Amazon provided the motor and the housing for $60 delivered to the house 2 days later. So she said the thing was going to be delivered today. I came over here, it was in the mailbox, delivered by USPS. Now it's time to install the new motor. This is what the unit delivered by Amazon looks like. And you have the fill plug on this side. There's the bottom. I held it up to the base here and it looks to be the same size, so that's encouraging. Here's the part number on this particular motor. And now I need to dig in there and find a gasket. I'll put the new gasket on, mount it to the boat, and see where we go from there. And the motor came with this bag with the hardware. So it has a new gasket, some mounting bolts, and a plug. Now when I'm installing a gasket, and the thing is going to be flipped upside down effectively, I put a little bit of bearing grease at a couple of locations on the surface that will receive the gasket, so that it provides enough adhesion that the gasket stays home while it's mounted over here, over the pump. So the gasket is in place. Now it's just a matter of mounting it over the pump. The 3 silver drive shafts came with the unit. This black one is the one that was on there initially. So that is too long because the depth of the housing here is much deeper than the new one. So I think it's going to be one of these 2 longer ones that will actually mate, and we'll try them and go from there. I mounted the shaft in the bottom here, and I'll put the motor unit over the top and then just kind of rotate it one way or the other until I hit the flats. Then I should be able to position it so the bolt holes line up. So I got this lined up and it's sitting there and the gasket's in place, and the new screws that came with it were cap head screws, so that's what I'm going to install. You see there's a lock washer and then a flat washer. The hex head size is 3/16, and then to get in there I had to use a 1/4 inch drive. I tried the 3/8 inch drive initially, but there wasn't enough clearance for the socket. And then I tried to put the old bolts back in there, but there wasn't enough clearance for the socket to go over the top of the 10mm bolt. So anyway, this 1/4 inch with a long extension is the ticket to tighten these things up. Now that the new unit is mounted here, it's just a matter of following these old wires. You'll see where they come through the cowl, and I'm just going to take these new wires and stick them through the same place and then plug them in blue to blue, green to green. After consulting Google, I put this automatic transmission fluid in there. When I buttoned this thing up, I took a look down here beneath the unit and it was dripping back here. And I thought, damn, maybe this casting is cracked. But the first thing I did was open this up. I let the tranny fluid out. I removed the 4 cap screws, and then I looked at that gasket on the bottom, and the gasket was slightly deformed as received, and it had popped out of the channel. So I put the gasket back in the channel where it belongs. I tightened everything up. I activated the trim unit. It works like it should, and it's no longer leaking. So apparently when I put this back together, I pinched the gasket the first time, but I remedied that problem, and now it looks like it's good to go. Now my lovely assistant will hit the button, and you'll see that this thing goes up and down like it should. Up. There's down. Up on the next down. And down. So we'll call this operation a success. Thank you for watching. I hope it saves you some time and money. Have a good day.